Hello, everybody. Let me give you a few minutes to log on. Oh, another busy Monday. So give me a few more minutes and I'm going to log on to Facebook. And my Facebook people can join me right away. They get me right away. Hello, Facebook. Hello, Diana. So when you guys are logged on, just type in where you're tuning in from and if this is your first time ever tuning in. That way I can kind of see who's new and I can say hello to everyone who is popping in. I have to check to see if all of you did your homework from last week. So if you tuned in last week and you did your homework, you can click thumbs up too, so I know that you're here. Hello, Allison. Oh, Lorraine and Kyle, you guys are all on Facebook. You're supposed to be joining me on YouTube. So you have a few minutes. Go on YouTube. I'm having more streaming issues, so let me know if the picture isn't clear on YouTube or Facebook, actually, because it's saying that my Wi-Fi is slow. So, hello, Nicole R. Hello, Maria. You're still in Poughkeepsie. Good to hear. Marianne, Eileen, Diana, I said hello to. So, we'll give you guys a few more minutes to pop on. It's Monday night, and that means that you join me and we just sit and chat for a little while. But I'm going to encourage everybody over here on Facebook to pop into my YouTube channel because I really only focus in on those of you who are tuning in from YouTube and your questions, and I interact only over here because Facebook, I can't keep going back and forth to each one. So for those of you on Facebook and you see the green screen behind me, go to my YouTube channel. I'm sure that Greg will post the link below in the comments somewhere so you can find me more easily. If we get kicked off, well, let's just hope we don't get kicked off. Let's put it that way. Hey, Lee and Bonnie, hello. And Yvette, how are you? And Mary Jane, Kyle, I said hello. Annie from Colorado, Donna from Queens. So we've got the whole, hey, there's Lorraine. She's joining me over here now. Chester, hello, Susan. So I'll give you guys a few more minutes. I know it's Monday night. I kind of started a little later because I'm getting Wi-Fi. It's saying my Wi-Fi is slow. So we'll have to work on that and fix that. But every Monday, I come on around 8:30 Eastern Standard Time, and we just hang out together. And you, in a moment, can ask more generalized questions that you've always wanted to ask a medium or psychic, intuitive, whatever you want to call me. So this whole point of Face or YouTube Live is just to have time to just get some questions answered. But tonight is generalized questions only, not any personal intuitive questions. Every once in a while, I kind of throw that in there. So if you tune in regularly, you'll be surprised, but I don't usually use this forum to only answer personal intuitive questions. So if you are asking personal intuitive questions and you feel like I'm ignoring you, I don't want you to feel like you're being ignored, but I'm not going to address the personal intuitive questions. Hello, Christine G. Yes, this is a Stitch Fix shirt. This was definitely a good find from Stitch Fix. So that was an exciting one. So I wish I can endorse them, or I wish they can endorse me. Forget me endorsing them. They don't need me, but I could use a little help from Stitch Fix Corp. Wink, wink, Christine. So hello, Carla and Carolyn from Connecticut. And Barbara, hello. And Kim from Arizona. Marissa, everybody's all online. Hello, Lynn. I love seeing hello, Patty. I love seeing our little, tribe that's growing and going, getting larger and larger, tuning in. Hello, Roseanne. And, oh, Rita, I see you over here. Rita, you've got to join me on YouTube. Greg is clicking the link. No, Greg is posting the link below. So you guys can click on the link that Greg is giving you so that you can find me over on YouTube. and you'll be able to sorry, I just got distracted by Christine's question. Hello, Barbara. So now that we have a couple of you tuned in, I want to go over some stuff. Last week, I gave you all homework. So those of you who tuned in last week, our work together was really setting up the intention for your day and closing out your day with just a review of your day. And when we train ourselves to kind of review our day before we go to bed, and we kind of put everything to rest, so to speak, it helps our nervous system calm down and relax, as opposed to just trying to get to sleep when you haven't really like mentally closed out your day. So you know when you have like 18,000 screens up on your computer because you're working over here, you're doing this, you're ordering this from this store, and all that, you know, when you have all your browsers up or whatever you call them, that's like our day. We're going through so much all day long. We've been in this space, that space. We've talked to this person, communicated to this one. We have so much going on. And when we go to bed, we try to just go right into bed and fall asleep. And most of you, I'm sure, have trouble getting to sleep. So what I want you to get into the habit of is closing out each browser of your brain every single night. So you can literally visualize yourself closing out the day, putting yourself waking up to rest, getting yourself to work to rest. You know, go throughout your day, review it, and remind your body that it's done now. You're into the next phase. So before you go to bed, this will help your brain to relax, as opposed to having all these browsers up and you're trying to get to sleep. So that was our homework last week. I'd love to hear your feedback from doing it this week. If you did it all week, that's great. If you just did it once, that's great too. But I really do want people to start getting in the habit of closing out your day, putting everything to rest. Then when you wake up, before you even jump up, or if you're somebody who just likes to jump up and you go right into the shower, take time in the morning, shower, when you're drinking coffee, whenever works for you, to start setting up your day in your mind. See yourself getting to work, see yourself with the conversations you know you're going to have. Just begin to preview your day. And at the end of the day, review your day, close out what is no longer relevant, and then move on to the next day. So I hope you guys worked on that. And if not, there's always this week. You can work on it this week. And if you're not someone who likes to commit to a whole week of homework, just do it tonight. Just close out your day this Monday, July, 8th? I don't even know the date. 8th? Yes, July 8th. Close out July 8th and get ready for the next day. That's huge. I also, before we want to go on to kind of your questions, your generalized questions tonight, I want to talk a little bit about compassion, because this has been on my brain a lot. Because if you are someone who's on social media, and clearly all of you are, I'm sure we've all had the experience where you are browsing your feed, say on Facebook, and you come across someone's post and they're angry or upset about something, whether it's the way a store clerk handled something, whether it's politics, whether it's something religious, whether it's, who knows? We all have had that, where we see someone's news feed and we see that they're complaining, we see that they're upset, they've made, this big to do about something, or we've all posted it. I'm sure I have as well, posted like, can you believe this happened? I'm so furious, blah, blah, blah. Well, recently I was caught one of these threads. I won't say who it was. And I wasn't so bothered by the person's initial post, because everyone has freedom of speech, and our personal social media platforms are exactly that. And they're for our own use to express and say whatever the hell we want, right? And I think we'd all agree with that. Even if it's salacious, even if it's rude, even if it's terrible, even if it's morally wrong, whatever it is, everybody really does have that freedom to be able to express. So I have no problem with that. But as I got caught into this thread, as I was reading it, and I made that choice to read it, I could have totally looked away, which is normally what I normally do. I just don't normally get myself engaged in commentary on Facebook because the sole reason of that I'm the one that gets riled up. And to date, I haven't seen any conflict completely resolved by people just going at it on social media. So I usually, my person, this is what I choose. I choose not to really respond. But on this particular thread, I'm reading through, and the post had something to do with drug addicts and drug dealers, and how drug dealers are the worst people on the planet and drug addicts are the worst people on the planet, and that kind of theme. And I'm reading everybody's statement. For the most part, everyone was like, yeah, they're the worst, and yeah, it's bullshit, and the dregs of the earth, and everyone was like just attacking and completely agreeing with this person's original post. And here's the thing. I wanted to so much comment. I never do. I won't, because I'm not getting myself involved in that sort of just energy tangle. But I wanted to know, regardless of whether the person was right or wrong, whether a drug addict did this horrible, horrible act, and I don't know if it really happened. I wasn't there. I have to believe, what was said. But I was wondering, where the hell is compassion? Compassion doesn't mean that you have to agree with anything. Compassion doesn't mean that you have to be on board, and doesn't mean that you don't have an opinion, and it doesn't mean that your opinion is wrong or right. But I had this overwhelming sense of compassion for everyone involved, and it stuck with me, and it's been sticking with me for a couple of days actually, because I'm trying to make myself more aware of when I'm compassionate and when I'm not. Shocking, I know. I could be a real asshole. Many of you know that. But I don't like that part of myself. I don't like feeling like a big giant asshole. I don't like being aggressive. I don't like the feeling of having to defend my side of anything, because my side is my side. Like, your side is your side. That person who posted it had an experience, and they're expressing their experience. And I can now, and I always do, but in this post for some reason really made it jump out to me, is, can we allow and hold space for someone to have an experience based on their own, whatever led up to that experience, whether it's true or false? Can we hold space for them to express? And can we hold space for our own opinion on it without having to blast 8,000 people for their opinion? Because we honestly don't know anything about anything. There is nothing on the planet we can generalize, except that we are all going to die someday. I know I'm like the bearer of great news on this Monday night, but every single situation, there's not like a very black and white, all drug addicts are horrible people. You know what I mean? Like, you can't generalize that. It's, it is what it is. And each person in each scenario is separate. So my whole thought was, can you be compassionate, not feel like you need to say your piece in an argumentary way? Do you always need to defend your point of view, even if you're right? Do you know what I mean? Like, if someone beat up a puppy, I mean, that's horrifying, right? That's like, there should be no reason for someone to do that in our logical mind. So yes, you can say, oh my God, what a disgusting human being. Who would do that? Of course you're going to think and feel that. But do we have to throw more anger and more labels and more right, wrong to a situation? Or can we just hold space for compassion that God knows what that human, say, who hurts an animal, did? Where are they at? I can hold compassion. It does not mean I agree with them. It does not mean I want to be friends with them. It doesn't mean that I think they're right, but I can hold space for someone who is obviously making choices that are detrimental to someone else. So I want everyone to be mindful this week of the word compassion, what it means for you, and how often we all, myself included, seem to feel like we need to pounce on our viewpoint coming from our own experiences. And when I read everyone else's responses to that thread, I stopped. I really paused and I read each one. And then I wondered, what did that person go through to elicit the response they've had? And I was able to have compassion for every single person, even the ones that were like, they're assholes, they're horrible, blah, blah. I thought, that person may have had a really bad experience with someone who was addicted to drugs or a drug dealer. And I don't know that. I don't know that person. So I'm going to hold compassion for whatever their experience is and not so much worry about their words. So think about only 14 thumbs up below Deborah. What? 14. Thanks. We can give thumbs up. Yes. But just really focus on your compassion. Focus on, yes, you want to be heard. Yes, you want to be right. Yes, most people want to do the right thing or see the right thing being done. But what does that mean? What does the right thing mean? It means holding, to me, it means holding space for others, not knowing what their previous experiences are. And I have to take that at face value. And if someone thinks and generalizes someone is so bad because they do drugs, in this case was the post, what it was about, was drugs. I have to hold space for that person's opinion because I don't know where it came from. I don't know the backstory to it. And if I sat with that person or messaged that person and I really cared to say, I'm just curious, why do you feel that way? I guarantee there would be a story that would actually probably justify their feeling of generalizing why all drug addicts are horrible in their mind. That doesn't mean all drug addicts are horrible, but to them it might mean it because of their experiences. So hold on to compassion, have that sense of curiosity with each other's experiences because they have led us to a personal opinion or belief, right or wrong. I have personal opinions that aren't necessarily correct. They're right in my eyes, but they may not be a universal truth. So think about that. Notice that. Pay attention to that. Hold compassion for each other. Hold compassion for your own selves. What experiences have led you to have biases and fears and doubts? And once you honor that part in yourself, then you'll be able to be more open to everyone else's issues. And I'm using the example of drug addicts only because that's what the original post that I saw was about. But I mean, we can take this to anything at all. Pay attention on social media. See if you need to correct people, defend people, argue. If you feel the need to argue, recognize what's behind your argument is probably an experience that you want people to know about and to explain why you feel that way, which is the exact same place everyone else is coming from. So people just want to be heard. People don't necessarily want to listen because they want to be heard first. And just pay attention to your own selves when you're in that space. And that is what compassion is about to me. So yeah, take the pause. Yeah, and judgment. I mean, we all have this crazy the judgment. We all hold judgment of something or at some point or another. Even the best of us, I can say like, no, I really don't judge people, and I really, really don't think I do. But maybe I'll walk through a mall and see someone dressed in a way that I'm like, oh my gosh, that's a little too much, or a little too little to wear. And that's a judgment. Like, who the hell am I to think that? So just pay attention. Just notice your compassion, notice your judgments, and then notice that yours is just based on your own experiences, which doesn't mean it's a universal correct and right. So that's my little spiel for tonight. Yes, Maria, I agree. I really do believe we are, like Maria's saying, we are more alike than different. And unfortunately, our differences get so highlighted. But if we ever just sit down and take 5 minutes to hear where someone else has been, instantly we're humbled. I'm humbled every single day, every time I sit with a person in a session and I hear their stories. And I'm like, oh my gosh, the world is just amazing. I think we're doing amazing as a whole. based on everything we have experienced. And I want us to remember that for each other and for ourselves. And exactly, Patty, no one says, and I say this to my children all the time, um, no one says, yeah, I so want to be an alcoholic, or I so want to be addicted to drugs, or I so want to like totally fuck everything up in my life. No one says that. No one really sets out. So that's a good point. And I forgot I'm cursing on Facebook. I'm okay with cursing on YouTube, but I'm cursing on Facebook. So you guys on Facebook, sorry, not you guys on YouTube. I feel like you guys should be prepared for this. So yes, no one ever sets out to do poorly or make the wrong choices. And when we do, we have to look at the experiences that are behind it and where is it coming from? Because clearly it's coming from somewhere. Racism, uh, bias on religions, bias on cultures, bias on state to state. I mean, you name it, where there's so many like ridiculous biases. So just pay attention. And I know I'm preaching to the choir because this is the group and the crew that's just more open and aware and in search of something more and bigger. So you're the easy ones. But remember to hold compassion, have that compassion, notice it, and see if you don't need to jump on, those social media threads. You don't need to state your case because you're just holding space for everyone, and vice versa. Hold space for yourself. So let's see, I'm just reading. Carla, exactly. Your opinions are based on everything you've been through and seen. Others might not understand because their perception is based on their own experience, which differ immensely from yours. That's exactly what I'm saying, is that we don't know where it's coming from. So let's honor the fact that someone has a particular viewpoint. And then maybe we're even curious, like, wow, what caused you to feel that way? And when you learn the story, you might go, wow, I don't blame you. I don't blame you for feeling that way. So it's everything. All our opinions, our experiences are based on our experiences until we prove ourselves wrong or we're proven wrong on certain things. So on that is your homework for this week. Preview your day in the morning, review it at night, close out your browsers, put your day away. Make sure you end the night on I did the best I could today. I did a job well done. Review, assess, see what you could do better tomorrow, realistically better tomorrow. And then you wake up refreshed and like you're at it again. I meet more humans that are telling me they're suffering and they're doing something wrong, or, what can I do to do better? And those are the people that don't need to be asking those questions. It's the people who don't really care to ask the questions that have a lot of work to do. But that's your homework. That, and hold space and compassion for people. And if someone really does rile you up because of their opinion, instead of lashing out and bashing them, ask them what happened. Where did they, what caused them to believe such and such? That is a much more powerful conversation to learn, and you'll connect more with people versus being like, well, you're a total asshole and I disagree, which is fine too. I've done that too, but it doesn't get me anywhere. It just gets me riled up and all mad. So that's my little mindfulness, Monday mindfulness with Deborah Hanlon. There it is. I just coined it. So thank you, Lynn. Thank you, Lee. Tracy, hello. Good to see you again. Happy you made it to North Carolina safely. So let's get to some of your questions. And again, I'm just going to remind you that I don't take personal intuitive questions. Every once in a while, I will surprise all of you. And I will answer your personal intuitive questions, but not right now, not tonight. So if you are asking anything very, very specific for yourself about connecting to someone on the other side, or anything specific in your life, am I going to get a job, all those things, I'm just not going to address those tonight. I'm going to go past those. But tonight is more about generalized, what are my thoughts on such and such, that type of stuff. You guys know the drill for the most part. Just water tonight, kids. That would be a lot of vodka if that was vodka, wouldn't it? Oh, doesn't that look cool? Because the green screen's behind it. See, Facebook, you can't really see. I look kind of like I have a floating glass a little bit, sort of. I think it also looks a lot bigger on the screen than it actually is. So while I'm waiting for your questions and things to come up, and remember, I only take questions for people who are tuning in over here on YouTube. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up sign because the algorithms in YouTube look at it and it makes me look cooler somehow by social media. I don't know how that shit works, but I'm told to try to get your thumbs up there. So give me a thumbs up. And it's not the thumbs up that you type into the comments, it's somewhere on your screen to click. And I don't have the same screen that you're seeing, so I really don't know what I'm talking about. Um, okay, so Lynn, good question. How do you handle those who continue to be so negative and have to be all about them? Depends on who they are. So if it's somebody who's, family and in your immediate environment, your spouse, your child, somebody who's in your space all the time, I would say you kind of have to deal with in a different way. You have to keep disconnecting your energy to recognize, like, okay, that negativity is not yours, and it is so easy for the negativity of the people closest to us to pull us down because it's like we're carrying extra bricks through our day. So it's hard when people in our immediate environment, immediate coworkers, people we can't really change right here and now. You just have to keep unplugging yourself from them. The minute they start with negativity, oh, my back hurts, or oh, this is the worst, or oh, that, you literally have to learn to disengage. Don't tell them otherwise. Oh, you say that all the time, or oh, must be hard being you, or don't even engage in it. Literally walk away because negative energy feeds off of negative energy, and we all know that because when you're feeling okay and then someone's complaining, our natural inclination as humans, we go right into complain mode. But that doesn't do anyone good, ever, ever, ever. So a disconnection, whether it's literal, like you can get yourself up and move to another room if that's possible, that's important. Do not feed, do not try to tell them otherwise either. That's never going to help because it's like, oh no, if someone's negative, like, oh, the world is bad and evil, and you're like, no, I think it's pretty good, you're probably not going to convince them otherwise, and you don't want to spend your energy trying to convince someone who's completely committed to being negative. And really just removing yourself as much as possible. It really is. And showing, if it's kids and someone in your family is kind of like training animals, you don't reward bad behavior. So you're not, if someone's complaining and miserable and negative all the time, you're not going to say, hey, do you want to go grab something to eat? Do you want to, like, let's get ourselves out of here and go get something to eat? That's rewarding them for that behavior. If they're being negative and you're like, oh, it seems like you had a hard day, let me try to make things easier for you so you're not as negative. That's codependency. You don't want to enable that bad behavior. So literally you have to remove yourself. That is the best way. It's not the easiest way because sometimes that means you're literally getting up out of a comfortable chair that you're in or your own bedroom sometimes. But I think it really is one of the biggest ways. Other people, like, they wrap themselves in white light and bubbles. That shit doesn't work for me. That does not work for me. I need a lot more than just visualizing white bubble, because usually I like visualize like hitting the like Acme dynamite in Roadrunner, and I'm like, I blew you up. There you go, you're gone. But that doesn't work either. So, but some people, the white light really does work and helps them. One I do a lot of times at meditation is I do have people visualize white light all around them with mirrors reflecting to the outside of them. So anyone who comes to you, their energy is reflected back at themselves. I do like that visual because it's sort of like, this is your stuff, it's not mine. So that's about it. That's all I've got on that. It's hard, very difficult to disconnect yourself from negativity sometimes. But don't engage, don't gossip, don't engage. Notice when you get sucked down the rabbit hole, if you start complaining and then go, you know what, I don't really want to do this right now. I don't want to complain. It is what it is. Sometimes people have a bad day, and walk away. That's important. So Elizabeth, you're asking, do we all have a specific time frame to be here? I do believe, absolutely. I totally believe that we all have a day that we're going to pass. We have a time right down to the nanosecond that we are going to pass, and we cannot change that time. but we can change how we pass. But to me, we cannot change when we pass. That when someone passes, that was always the predetermined time and place when someone is supposed to pass. Um, Same as being born, same thing. So we do have a specific time frame to be here based on your soul. Your souls, they use the word contracts and things like that. It's human language makes it very difficult to really explain the concepts because you cannot take what's human and physical and really translate it perfectly in the energetic or spiritual world. But we have like these contracts, these agreements that we come here to fulfill. And then we agree that when it's our time, which is easy when we're the one who passes. I always say they've got the good spot. For us left behind, it is not easy. And it is very difficult when we try to kick that in our mind because we all say, if only we had done this, if only this had happened, if we had gone to the doctor sooner, or if we didn't do such and such that day, so and so would still be here. We torture ourselves here with all of that stuff. Let's see. Allison, what's my take on astrology? I love astrology. I know nothing about astrology. I know very teeny bit. I think it's quite cool. Many years ago, I was taking a class, this is like 2007, many years ago. I was taking a workshop at the Omega Institute. I wrote about this in my book. I didn't write about this part, but I wrote about that retreat that I took in 2007 with James von Prague. And at that retreat, I met this woman who, her name is Kim, and I met Kim. We sat next to each other, and I literally felt like I knew this woman my entire life. And like we just clicked. You all know when you meet somebody like that, and you're just like, oh my God, I feel like this person's been my best friend forever. We were talking for maybe 45 minutes. That's all we had known each other. And we had to do a group exercise, and the people in the group were like, oh, how long have you guys known each other? And we were like 45 minutes. And they were like, what? We thought you were sisters, or we thought you were best friends since high school. And it was pretty cool that people could see that chemistry. Kim is an astrologer, pretty damn good one as well. And she and I began to kind of do readings for people at lunch and up what like intuitively I was feeling. I think that's pretty cool. I know there's a whole argument about there's more than 12 planets. There's actually like the astrology chart we know is 12 divided up into 12 months of the year, but there's actually a 13th month. I learned this from Rita's son, Dr. Rosenthal, my God. He talks about this a lot, about there being a 13th month added to astrology. So I personally love it, but I don't know anything about it. I do find it funny that everyone who comes to me always is like, I'm a Sag with Venus rising, Deb. And I'm like, no, I have no idea what that means. So I don't know the terminology. I know I'm a Taurus. I know Taurus means you're stubborn, and can be stubborn and lazy, and I can definitely be both. So that's my kind of extent of astrology. Let's see. Oh, Miss Kyle. Let's see. Kyle asks, how do you stop procrastinating in normal life and spiritual life when you don't have solid deadlines? Asking for a friend. You create solid deadlines, my friend. You have to create them. And that comes from the very literal chores and tasks, folding laundry. I know that's a big one for you. Folding laundry, putting it away, you have to create that deadline. And it really is a discipline and a commitment. I feel like I am the most undisciplined human being. I fly by the seat of my pants. There's certain things I am very regimented on, and there are few of them. So I understand the undisciplined life because that's me. But I also know that it is so incredibly important to literally have accountability and have someone hold you accountable to the smallest of tasks. Pick one or two, like folding laundry, putting it away, to the bigger ones of goal setting and trip planning and financial planning, all of those bigger things down the road. It's really important for accountability. So if you're not naturally holding yourself accountable, find someone who will. And that makes a huge difference. And Kyle, you're in business for yourself, and that's hard. People do not realize. People say, "Oh, it's so wonderful. You're so lucky because you get to make your own schedule." And there's truth to that, and then there's not truth to that, because when you're in your own business, you do also tend to have to do things on everyone else's time schedule. So it's not really your own. But it's hard because when you're in your own business, you have very little accountability, and you can kind of get away with being undisciplined because it's your own undisciplined um, ball of whatever. So I would find someone who holds you accountable, whether that's a friend or actually hiring someone to hold you accountable. That's going to be important for you, for everybody. Accountability is huge. Okay. Ooh, Marie, I love this question. Are there words to be uttered to a person on their deathbed to make their transformation easier? That is a fantastic question. I'm going to add that to the screen here. There's so many schools of thought here. Several religions do believe that you have to have a pure mind in order to enter into the other side in a pure state. And if you are not of pure mind at your death, that means you enter the other side in chaos. I don't really agree with that, but I've heard that. And therefore, there are many religious beliefs that go around of how the very end of life should be and the words that are uttered. And I do believe, and I can't remember which religions they are, have very specific things to be said at the end of someone's life. I don't follow that. I don't see that in readings. I know people who've had really horrific, tumultuous deaths. They are not residing in a chaotic afterlife whatsoever. So I do think it's more for the human to be in a calm space versus the soul, because the soul's already knowing what's coming. But letting people know they're safe and okay, letting them know that they'll be missed, but you'll be okay, letting them know that they will go on and they'll be with you. Anything reassuring like that is always helpful. I've heard a lot of people in readings say, "Hey, I knew it was time to go because you told me it was time to go," and they said that helps. I've had other people say, "Hey, I heard you telling me please don't go, but I had to." And if you tell someone, "No, don't go," that doesn't leave them at unrest either. They just know that it's their time. So anything that's calming for them is important. But more important, because like I always say, once we pass, we're fine, we're good, we're okay. It's more important for us on this side of life, the physical side of life, to make sure we've said everything we need to say to them, positive or negative, so that when they pass, we don't have the woulda, coulda, shouldas, which we're going to have anyway. But the woulda, coulda, shouldas of, I wish I had said this. I wish I told them I love them. I wish I told them I was mad at them and now I forgive them. I mean, all those conversations that we need to have, it's important for us to say that. Even if you want to say, I'm so mad at you for dying and I have so much more to talk to you about and I don't know what to do, that's good too. You need to verbalize and express as much as possible what we feel, because as soon as someone dies and is no longer here in the physical realm, we're then left kind of holding the bag to all that. So we want to make sure that we express. John Edwards, what is his thing? Communicate, appreciate, communicate, and validate. Is that what his 3 things? I can't believe I loved what he said, but I can't remember what they are now. But he's on to something. He's right. We have to make sure we communicate our own, what we need to say before they pass. Okay, Carolyn, we all have our day that we die. If someone commits suicide, is that they defied what was supposed to be, or when it's your time regardless? I believe that when it's your time regardless. And everything in your universe, I did write this in my book, everything in the universe kind of co-conspires for the fate of everyone and everything else, and it's all interrelated. So I use the example of the tsunamis in Japan in my book, that 250,000 people were in a general location and it was all their day to pass. That is what sparked the earth to move to create a tsunami. That is how interconnected we are with the earth itself. The earth is here to fill out our fate, whether it's to keep us alive or to help us pass. It's here to be a part of that. In the case of suicide, same thing. Your life and what led to that point was kind of co-conspiring to that moment, which I know a lot of people will freak out and say, what, are you kidding me? Why would you tell people that? Now they're going to do it. And then you tell us we're fine after we pass. And so what is the reason for people not to take their own life? And I do always remind people that when we do take our life, you don't enter hell like so many people think and say. Instead, whatever it was in your life or multiple things in your life that caused you to take your life, you repeat those things in the next lifetime. So it's quite important that we kind of get it right this time, or else we're doing a do-over. And so that's how the suicide thing works in a nutshell. But no, I do believe it's their day to die. Like I said, we can change how we pass. We cannot change when we pass. Yeah, these are great questions tonight. And I love how everybody else is like saying, great question. I like that question. I like when I see you all communicating with each other too, because you're all interacting in the little tribe that we've caused. And Facebook people, I'm not ignoring you. Well, I'm kind of ignoring you because I'm just focusing on questions that people are putting up on my YouTube channel. So that's the best place. If you have a question, a generalized question, by all means, just tune in over to YouTube, which is Intuitive Medium Deborah Hanlon. You put that in your search once you get to the youtube.com site, and then my picture should pop up and you should be able to find a link somewhere there or a button that says join chat. And you can click the bell, I believe it's a bell, that will notify you every time I come on, so you don't have to set your alarms like you've all been doing. I know you've been setting your alarms and waiting for Monday nights. Oh my God, because I do. That's what I do. Okay. Dragon Gal. Hey, Aisha. Can't you break contracts? You can upgrade contracts. You can kind of get the lessons. So say you're here, your soul is here, and it's to learn that maybe this lifetime you're not supposed to have children, right? And all you want are babies. But your soul's contract in this lifetime is to experience life as childless. That's kind of what you're coming in for, but you can come to a term of acceptance or surrender to that, which then kind of upgrades the contract. So it's not necessarily breaking it. You can learn your way through or evolve your way through your contract. Very astute, wise human beings are able to accelerate or upgrade their contracts. I'm not sure if I would use the term break the contract. I'm not sure I would use that term. Just something about it doesn't sit right with me. But upgrade the contract, yes. All right, Barbara, you have paranormal experiences and spirits communicate with you. How do you embrace it? You take my classes, Barbara. Take my classes. I just started a mediumship, introduction to mediumship class. We're moving into the third one, not this Tuesday, but next Tuesday night. And that's online and in person. So you could take it right with me, or you could take it very much like you're tuning in right now. I'm amazed and so excited on how quickly people are grasping what I'm teaching. And I taught this 4 or 5 years ago and have completely changed my teaching style and how I teach mediumship. Years ago, I did not have people do readings on each other. And the first time, the first class, I had people pairing up and sitting down and applying techniques that I'm teaching you. And they are like, oh my God, I'm totally freaked out. I didn't really even think I was a medium. And I got this information. How did I do that? So take my class. I will be taking that. You can still take my old ones because they were all filmed. So if you wanted to take the first and second, that's still available. That's on my website, deborahhanlon.com. And if you have questions about it, you can email my office, which is info@beingknowingdoing.com. So like info, like information, at beingknowingdoing.com. So that's how you embrace it. You take more classes, you learn more about, I'm just reading. Sorry. I try to read your responses and finish my sentences, and it doesn't work. It never has. I've been doing this for how long, and it doesn't work, but I still try to do it. So take my classes online, deborahhanlon.com. That's the way to do it. Yes, the Taurus. Yes, we are driven. We can be very driven, but I can be also very, very lazy. We also, Tauruses, we also like we like nice things. We like nice lighting. Our home has to be really, really comfortable and conducive to feeling good. So that's another Taurus trait. All right. Tell them how shocked Jack was. Yeah, that's a good one. My son, Jack, in January, wrote down his goals for the year. Was it in January or beginning of the school year? It was the beginning of the school year. I can't remember. It's either January or the beginning of the school year. He wrote down goals on his phone, things he wanted to accomplish. He didn't tell me he did this. He hears me talking about this all the time. He hears me talking about vision boards. He hears me talking about the connection of your thoughts create your reality and what you put out there and where your focus is. You manifest what you're focusing on. So if you're focusing on negativity, you're going to manifest more. And if you're focusing on what's working well, you're going to manifest more of that. He hears me say all that, but I didn't know he was listening to it. And he created a list on his phone of all his goals. And the other day he's like, Mom, I looked over my list and look, I achieved this and I achieved this. And he went down about 7 or 8 goals. All of them he completely attained, and that just lit him up. He was so excited. So that's really important. I mean, he's 18. He got the memo. Let's hope it continues as he starts college in the fall. But it's really important. Write down your goals. Write them down. Have them concrete, whether it's in your phone. I literally need to have mine right in front of my face every day, and I have a big, huge bulletin board next to my bed with my goals on it, just visions, things that I like, all of that. Maybe I'll take a picture tonight and post it on my Instagram. If you are my friend on Instagram or you like my Instagram page, you'll be able to see it. Instagram is I am Deborah Hanlon. Stands for Intuitive Medium Deborah Hanlon. Get it? I am Deborah Hanlon. I'm so clever, right? So, okay, Felicia, hello, how are you? What's my thought on dreaming about someone who recently passed, only it's in the future, and then you run into that person in real life, but it's someone different. Happened to me recently. Hold on, I have to read that again. You dreamt about someone who recently passed, only it's in the future, and then you ran into that person. Oh, okay, got it. So in the dream, they had passed, but it was in the future. And then you ran into that person in real life, but it's someone different. What? I don't even understand the question. So clarify that for me, because my brain hurts. My brain hurts reading that. So I need a little bit more clarity on that. So I'll keep going, and you can work on that while I go to the next question. Does everyone sense when their end is approaching? Carla, that's a great question. When I was a kid, I was obsessed with needing to know this. I needed to know, like when you hear of someone who passed super suddenly, did they know it? Did they have an inclination? Did they have this sense about them that day? Ever? I mean, did they have this sense ever that they were going to pass young? But specifically that day they passed, I was always obsessed. Like, did they know? Did they sense it was coming? And what I have come to know about that, which is ironic, because I remember being really obsessed with this, like young, like 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, those ages, like really young, going, did they know? Did they know? I just need to know. Did they have a sense? And did they maybe write something down to say, hey, today might be my last day to pass? And I've carried this into my life now because I wake up and I think, how do I know? How do I know if this is my day or not? We don't, which is terrifying to think of. So don't focus on that. But I've come to know that I do believe our soul knows. Our soul has a sense of that time and date. I do believe that. I've heard many readings where people said, I always knew I was going to pass young. I knew I wasn't going to make it past such and such age. I've heard that a lot of times. It certainly doesn't apply to everyone. but I've heard it a lot. But I think our soul knows. I do not think our human mind knows every time. A friend of mine, Laura, and I were just talking about this very recently, within the last week as well. She was texting this to me. She always wondered that as well. So I don't believe always our human mind knows, but our soul. I do believe our soul knows. Did I freak everyone out now? Because now half of you are thinking like, oh my God, now how do I know? It's one more thing to think about. Then don't. If it scares you, it makes you anxious, put that thought away, close out the browser of that thought in your mind and move on to a better thought, because you can't, that's something you can't have the answer to. You may not have the answer to. Okay. Communicate, appreciate, and validate. Thank you, Carla. Okay, Marissa, there are times when I get a gut feeling about something, like you just know things will work out. Is this something that can be further developed? Absolutely. And again, I really am gearing up all of my intuitive development classes, especially because this mediumship class, um, I'm difficult. I'm a tough teacher, but I will get you to understand how all of this works, because I want people to feel connected to their own intuition. I actually don't want people to think they need me or any other intuitive on the planet to help navigate your world. Yeah, it's fun to go to someone for their insight and opinion. Maybe intuitives or someone else, any outside person, would have an objective view on lives, and I think it's important to see people and hear people out. But at the end of the day, you're going home with yourself, you're going to sleep with yourself. You need to feel really, really good and certain on where you're going and what's happening and choices we've made. We all need that more than we need someone in our life who's good at that for us, because that eventually runs out. So my goal, my love, my passion is getting people to feel connected and certain, even among uncertainty, which was kind of a quote that came up in the class yesterday. Uncertainty is always going to be there, whether you are, Nostradamus, who, could see into the future so clearly according to his history books. But sometimes sometimes we don't know. Sometimes we just don't know, but sometimes we do. So we want to really, really pull on the times that we do and really develop and cultivate that skill. And it is a skill. We all have it. It is a sense that's within us, that's born with us. And I do believe the more we busy ourselves with technology and our phones, and we stay completely, scattered in 8,000 directions. And, when you're looking up something on your phone and then you see an article and then you go to that and then you're like, what the heck was I talking about? That's distraction. And it's taking us away from that inner silence that we all do need to give to ourselves. So it can be developed through meditation and working on these things. So look at my classes. Totally, totally. Okay. Hello, Kelly Hoffman. How are you? Aisha, it's another great question. Do I believe that we all exist simultaneously in all different dimensions? Absolutely. This is why, as a kid, I was always interested in physics, because I understood on a very deep level light and time and matter and space and the quantum idea and entanglement and singularities and 0 point, all this physics stuff. I totally understood on a level that I could never even explain, because I couldn't understand the math behind it. I never understood that part. But conceptual physics it always made sense to me. It made sense on that soul, energetic, spiritual level. And I loved that science explained it. So yes, I do believe we exist simultaneously in all different dimensions. I think people literally think dimensions are like other rooms, and they kind of take it very, very, very literally. Like we're in this dimension, and then somewhere else out in outer space, there's another dimension, and that's not how it works. So it's dimensions is another, for me, it's another word for levels of consciousness, or consciousness that we are open to understanding. So at this moment, according to our history books, George Washington, who he was in the 1700s, is no longer in physical existence. But the moment I bring up his energy and his name, today, I can connect to, not because I'm a medium, but because this is how physics works. I can connect to his energy that existed over 240 something years ago at that time, right now. Wrap your heads around that for a moment. As well as I can connect to someone, the future version of myself, the 90-year-old self of me, and I can connect with her, and she knows the younger self of me is contacting her. So yes, I absolutely believe we exist simultaneously in different dimensions, and it has a lot to do with particles and entanglement. And once two particles are in relation to each other, you can never break that relation. And I also believe, in addition to that, once you create an awareness of something, you then become in relation to it, which means you're always a part of it. Wrap your heads around that on a 9:30 on a Monday night. Yes, do that. All right. Why don't I have a TV show already? I know, right? What would my TV show be about, though? I don't know. This? Me doing this? Me saying bad words? I can't. So don't forget Facebook. Hey, Paula, hello, thank you. Make sure you guys on Facebook tune in over here to YouTube. Facebook people see the obnoxious green screen behind me. YouTube, you guys are in my backyard with me right now. Isn't this fabulous? Even though it's dark out. Okay, so Felicia cleared. Let's see. Annie, you do set your time, your alarm. Thank you. Thank you for saying you set your alarm out in Colorado to tune in. I wish everyone did that. So thank you, Annie. So, okay, Felicia, your friend committed suicide. Ugh, I'm sorry. And in my dream, you visit him after I died. And then a few days later, I attended a suicide training class, and the teacher was exactly as my friend appeared, older in my dream. My head hurts still, Felicia. See, I can talk about quantum physics and going back 240 years ago, but for some reason, my brain can't get wrapped around this. But I would say you absolutely had a multi-dimensional interaction with your friend who passed. I would absolutely say there was definitely something more to it, even though I can't really wrap my head around the scenario and time frame. I think it's one of those things I need to hear versus read. My brain's not computing the time frame of it. Okay, Jenna. Do people stay with their body for a certain amount of time after they pass, or immediately go to the other side? If they pass while alone, do they hang around to make sure they are found or taken care of? That's a great question. So it's a little bit of both. They cross over immediately. They're not connected to their body in the way that we would think. They're no longer like instantaneous. They're very, very aware that they're no longer in physical form, as well as they're aware that they're in spirit form, energy form, as I call it. And they're detached quickly. And it's like they get their life download in nanoseconds, a time frame that we can't even compute and understand yet in our world, in our physical world. So they go immediately to the other side, but they're also very aware of their physical self and what they left behind. And they're not sad about it because they know that, oh, this is the next progression for themselves. It's kind of like a baby who goes from crawling to walking. They don't miss the crawling stage and everything that came with it. They're into the next stage. So sometimes people get really upset when I say that too, because then they think that means their loved ones on the other side have forgotten them. And that's not the case at all. So that doesn't mean that, but that's beyond the scope of this question. When they pass alone, they don't hang around to make sure they're found because they already know the moment they've passed, they already know the timeline of what's going to happen next. So they're acutely aware of everything in the past that came before their crossing over, as well as acutely aware of everything across time that's coming after their passing. So if you visualize their life as a timeline, the moment of passing is just another transition. But now they're aware of the entire spectrum of their life, going all the way back to the beginning and all the way to the quote unquote end, which again is where light and physics and time travel and quantum physics and entanglement and all of that stuff comes in, because that's what we are. We are that essence, all of us. And we are acutely aware as we are sitting here right now, wherever you are sitting in your human self listening to this, you are also spirit who is brilliant and already knows everything that came before this moment, even before you were conceived, and everything that's coming after this moment. And developing that intuition is really developing and getting in touch with that spiritual side of ourselves, that energetic part of ourselves that is timeless and is calm and it is perfect because it sees things in all of its continuum versus just the finite illusion of our lives right now. So let's see. Does that make sense? I think that's what I'll name a show. Does that make sense? Because I say that all the time. Because I hear myself and I know I make sense to myself, but sometimes I'm like, did I make sense? Did I say what? Did it make sense? So hopefully it makes sense. And if not, you can always ask me to clarify. Susan Page wrote, do we meet the same people every life? For the most part, yes. The people that we are closest to in each lifetime we have met previously, but there's still more to be added. So it's not like, say, the very first lifetime we're ever incarnated, we're close with 10 people. It doesn't mean those 10 people will show up every single lifetime for the rest of your life. That can be the case, but it doesn't necessarily. So maybe the next life you're reconnected with 5 of those 10, but you're meeting 6 more. So now you have 11 people, and then that next lifetime you meet 20 more. Now you have 31 people, and then the next lifetime you only see 1 person from all that. So on some level, yes, we're always traveling in the same circles, but those circles are larger and larger just by, again, quantum physics. And once you're in relationship with someone, your energy is forever in relationship with each other. It just matters when it shows up in time and space. Make sense? See, that's the name of my show. Does that make sense? Yes. And if you guys share my YouTube channel, then I can get a TV show, or this is the TV show. Or you guys can tell me what more you'd like to see or hear other than personal intuitive questions. I'll do that. I'm actually planning an event for later this month that I'll release where I'm doing intuitive questions, kind of like gallery style, but only intuitive questions, not so much mediumship. And classes and teaching, that's what I want to do. That's the direction I love going into. Ooh, you saw Grace, you're in Charlotte, North Carolina Airport. I'm glad you're tuning in. Say hello to Charlotte, North Carolina to me. Okay. How do I do the name vibration thing? I find it fascinating. I know, I find the name vibration thing fascinating too. The name vibration thing that Kelly is referring to is when I hear someone's name, a person who is still physically here, their name, each name has a certain vibration. And as soon as I hear their name, I kind of get plugged into their energy field. And I usually ask for the first and middle name. A lot of times parents will with me and with their kids, and I'll be able to kind of tune in and say, oh, they really like this, or keep them in arts, or keep them away from sports, or make sure they're with music, or their propensities. I could tell them if they're really anxious or depressed or nonverbal. So it's just another facet of hearing and feeling and seeing energy through people's names. And names carry vibration, just like numbers carry vibration in numerology. Names, letters carry vibration. So certain names have a generic overriding principle. And I always explain it like this, like the name Michael. Obviously, there are millions and millions and millions of Michaels across the globe. But the name generalized Michael, usually the Michaels are very hardworking. They love to earn money and make money. But they're also someone who constantly will say, like, we don't have money, you can't buy this, you can't buy that. And then the next day they go off and like they buy a boat. So like they are really hardworking, they make good money, they're worried about spending money, but then all of a sudden they do frivolous spending, like at the drop of a hat. So that's like the generalized Michaels. Now, obviously, not every single Michael on the planet fits that vibration. And so I'd go to their middle name, and their middle name will tell me more about their first name, or vice versa. So there's generalized vibration and then very specific vibration per person, which is fascinating. I do think it's fascinating. And I think you might be also remembering yesterday in the mediumship class, Kelly, I couldn't remember one person's name. I had just asked her, like, oh, remind me your first name. And she told me her first name. And then about 4 minutes later, I asked her again, like, I'm sorry, I can't remember your name. What's your first name? And she tells me her name again, which then made me realize, like, Deb, you just asked her first name. Anytime I have that happen, my next question I ask the person is, were you going to be named something else before you were born? And I don't mean gender, like, yeah, if I was a boy, I was going to be this, or if I was a female, I was going to be this. Usually, if I have a female there and I can't remember their name, I know their mom or dad had another name lined up for them, but then changed it either at the last minute, or they really wanted this name, but no one liked it. Or they literally were named that, but they go by this name. So it just tells me as soon as I can't remember, it means they're operating on two name vibrations. So that might be why you were bringing up that question. Okay, let's see. All right, Melanie, when you're seeking more information on science, religion, etc., do you call on deceased people known for these topics to do mediumship? Nope, because that's their human self and their spirit energetic self. They're actually all the same. So our energy, once we pass, what makes us us is our human stuff, our human identity. That's right down to, our stature, what we looked like, what we did for a living, our hobbies, our experiences, people we travel with, our races, our ethnicities, our religions, everything creates an identity. And all that is very human. And that separates us. That makes our energy, which is all the same. The only thing that makes us different is the vessel and the experience of the vessel in life. So the vessel meaning the body. When we die, we are restored to that pristine, perfect soul or energetic self, which is all the same across the board. But if I'm connecting to that, and I'm not connecting to the human, in the case of your question, mediumship, like when someone's coming to me for an appointment to hear from their loved one who's passed, I'm going to their human self in spirit form. What I think you're talking about is, do I go to like Stephen Hawkins for information on this science and these broader topics? And I go to all of it, the collective whole, the ether, because that's where those answers are. It's much bigger than what our human self can even put into words. And once again, I'm going to say, does that make sense? Did I answer that properly? Oh my gosh. Okay. I'm reading now your comments. Greg wrote, I thought if you're convinced you're going to die at a specific age, that's when you have a drastic change in your life. Okay, so going back to the question that somebody, I can't remember already, asked earlier if we have a specific time we're going to pass or if we think we know when we're going to pass. I did forget this possibility as well. I remember at a time that I used to really be convinced around 32, 33 that I was going to die. And I was about 26, 27, and I dreaded the thought of turning 32, 33 because I knew I was dying. I was convinced I am not going to make it past 33. And I had 2 children already at that time. And of course you panic thinking, oh my God, I need to be here for my kids. And it was terrible. It was a terrible time. I hit 31. I'm getting nervous because I'm like, oh, I'm not going to be here. I'm going to die. 32, 33. I make it to 33. I make it to 34. And I'm like, oh, wow, look at that. I'm still here. What I then realized is that my world up until that point died at 31, 32, 33. In that time frame, I made a massive shift in my own personal development in my own life. And what I realized is that I did die. That old Deb died and a new one emerged. Oh my God, a big, huge spider just crawled down the wall. Hold on, I'll freak out. One moment, please. Okay. It's big. So I'm going to put my feet up. And if you hear me screaming, I'm sorry, but I will freak out. I could talk about energy and physics and all of that, but that thing just went whoop, it like was spinning a web and I want to die. But okay, back to my focus. I'm watching that sucker. I'm better. I'm sorry. I got a little distracted. It's a big spider. So I was convinced I was going to die, much like I'm convinced I'm going to die now from that spider down there. But whatever. But I was convinced I was going to die, and I did. My old self died. A new one emerged. That is right around the time I really made that decision to get divorced and go into my own world and live a life that is way more authentic and real and connected for myself and what was right for myself. And so the old me, the people pleasing and doing what I thought was right for everyone else, that part of me died. So I do believe that when we do have that inclination, that it's not necessarily predicting a physical death as much as an aspect of our being death, which is really powerful, really powerful. So thank you, Greg, for reminding me of that. Oh God, I can't see it now. It moved. Okay. All right. I swear I will die here. Sorry. I really don't like spiders, and I don't like the way that sucker came down. It was like this big. I'm not kidding. Okay. So, Rhonda, and if you guys hear me screaming, it's just going to be a spider, but whatever. Okay. I'm so like creeped out and itchy right now because I feel like okay. I'm going to be fine. I'm going to be fine. Rhonda asks, how can you develop communication skills with those who have passed? You get visitation, you want to communicate better. Again, that's my classes and any classes, anything about it. But I know what I teach. I want to teach the real world way of being able to understand energy and understand the language of mediumship, which is the struggle, which is what the big deal is. So many people literally think that connecting with the other side is like a ghost walks in, they sit down next to me and we kind of chat. And for me, that is not how it works at all. There's a whole other dynamic in place, which is why I'm able to perceive energy and understand and hear and feel and see energy, but it's not literal and it's not in the space or sense that people typically think. And I do feel that more people receive their information as I do. It's not like, oh, look, I see a dead person and look, wow, there's someone sitting there and having a chat. It's much less like that than how I experience it. So I like to teach it that way. So look up my classes online, deborahhanlon.com. That's the way to do it. Oh, I'm glad to hear that, Carla. Rhonda, good questions. Carolyn, social medium. That is a good name. How about terrified of spiders? Social medium. I got to write that down. Okay. Yes, Felicia, definitely need to say it to me because for some reason I can't read it and grab my brain around it for some reason. Okay. Yes. So Holly, good question. Hello, girl. I got your message the other day too. I didn't respond yet. Does the vibration of a name change your vibration if you change the name itself? Because I feel like adding my hubby's last name into mine opened up energy a lot. Absolutely. It totally does. It can either ramp up your energy or it can bring it down. And I'm going to share this with you guys, and I'm not even like being rude about my ex-husband or anything for once. But when I got married, I was absolutely, completely like, no way, I'm not changing my name. It did not feel right. So I stayed Deborah Hanlon. And then I had kids, and then it was starting getting confusing. And then they were in school, and I was Deborah Hanlon, and it was just dumb. So I was like, you know what? Let me change my last name to what my kids' last names are. And at first I hyphenated it, Hanlon, and then that last name. Then that wasn't working. That was complicated. When I went to doctors, was it under H? Was it under the other name? Who knew? So I finally changed it again to only my then married last name. And it completely changed my dynamic, I felt. And there's other reasons why. I keep looking down just to check on that spider. So just don't mind me. But yeah, it definitely changed my energy. And the minute I got divorced, I changed back to my maiden name, and it made such a difference for me. So It can work in really good ways and not good ways. So feel your way through. If it feels right, it is right. That's the end. That's the name of the game for the intuition game. If it feels right, it is right. Sometimes you'll say like, oh, but I convinced myself it's right. You know the difference between trying to convince yourself something's right versus actually feeling right. And in my class yesterday, I reminded people that we often know when something very strongly doesn't feel right. So if we're getting a sense of, I'm not sure, it probably is right because we're very clear on a no. We're very clear when something's not right. So just figured I'd add that. But yes, it could absolutely change your vibrational pattern and does change your vibrational pattern when you change your last name. Positively or negatively. It depends. It depends on how you feel about it. Okay, let's see. I see everyone chatting amongst themselves. I love it. Facebook people, don't forget to come over here to YouTube so that you can tune in and ask a question. Oh, cool. Samantha, you write, when you were a child, you would have recurring dreams that you would see yourself sleeping, hovering over my sleeping body, and would see things like deja vu while awake. What does this mean? That is a lot to do with astral travel. And the fact that you're plugging into another dimension that we are talking about earlier, another level of your consciousness of your current lifetime, you are plugged in. So you can train yourself to plug in to that more effectively and more often. Meditation will help. Meditation helps with everything, literally, absolutely everything. But that was you plugging into kind of like the fabric of time. And it just so happened that maybe it was 5 minutes in advance. You saw it 5 minutes in advance or 2 years in advance. I think we've all probably had some level of deja vu. And that's an incredible experience. I used to have it all the time as a kid, very specific times. And I had it multiple times in the same scenario. Like I had it like 10 times in the same scenario. So that was weird to me as a kid. I really don't get deja vu much. I haven't had that in years. I can't remember the last time, maybe 10 or more years. But that's like you getting into the fabric of time. And it is common, not all the time, but that right before you sleep, when you're entering into that phase of your sleep cycle, that we're in a better receptivity to be able to kind of get into the fabric of time versus just be so committed to what's right in front of me is all there is, which is what being human's about. We get very limited viewpoint on our lives. Eileen, if you don't have a middle name, then you just don't have a middle name. So it just goes off that first name. That's all that happens with the name vibration. Maria, thank you. She likes when I talk about my insights and my discoveries. Talking to us about compassion earlier this evening captivated me. I think it's just thank you for that. That doesn't surprise me that it captivates you because you're that person. You're that person that likes to be introspective and think of things in a different way or in a way that isn't different from you. I think we all just need mindfulness. I think we need to all slow down and stop ourselves because I think we can all think of experiences where we've jumped in too fast or we've reacted to a scenario or situation and wished we didn't. I know I do that all the time. I always say I'm a very reactive being that if I'm mad, oh my God, I like spew venom. Shocking, I know, because you guys all thought I had a halo around my head all the time, and I don't. I usually take my halo off and I use it to choke other people that make me upset, or at least I visualize that or the dynamite. But it's really helpful to just slow ourselves down and really try to think of the other point of view. And again, that, like I said, with that compassion, it really stopped me in my tracks to go, what happened to those people that are so strongly fixed on one way? And why am I so fixed on one way of my own opinions? And recognize that my way is based on my experiences, like we said before, and it doesn't make me wrong, but it also doesn't make me right. It just makes me expressing an experience. So I think it's fascinating stuff to think about. Mindfulness is good. It's needed. Okay. Ali. Hello, Ali. Oh, it's Renee. Hello, Renee. Um, Achieving 0 point energy classes. I do. I have to record that class because 0 point, a bunch of you here have taken it. And the whole thing with 0 point is that everything in life is in a duality, right? So things are either good or bad. This is how we label them, either good or bad, black or white. We either feel love or we don't. We can feel conflicted or have clarity. So think of any duality. Think of any time you ever feel stuck. And I want you to imagine both scenarios, the opposite. So if you're not feeling loved, right? I want you to visualize, feel, or imagine the concept of not being loved. And then if you can visualize and imagine that concept, then you can also visualize and imagine the opposite of that concept, which is to feel loved. You might say, well, I don't know what that means because I don't feel it, but you know something about it because you know what not feeling loved is. So you'll automatically know the opposite. Then through techniques, have you go to this space where neither feeling loved or unloved exists. And that point right between the opposites is what 0 point is about. And 0 point is a focused point. Nothing exists, but the potential for everything exists. And when we can create out of 0 point, we create much more larger, bigger, and I don't mean literally bigger, but more expansive experiences versus coming out of, well, I'm creating a relationship out of feeling unloved, or I'm creating a relationship out of feeling loved. There's something even bigger than that, and it's called the absence of both and the presence of both, which is 0 point, which totally doesn't make sense most likely because you have to take the whole class to really experience it. But it's a very cool technique to get us focused, present, and in a state where we're receptive to our next move and to our next motion forward. So I highly recommend 0 point. I highly recommend a couple classes I'm coming up. The mediumship classes, like I said, two are filmed already. They're online. You could jump in on those, and then you could jump in live for the next two or attend them in person with me for the next two. They'll both be held on Tuesday nights. Not this Tuesday, but the following. And then July, I think it's 30th is the last Tuesday of July. So you can attend those. You can attend Spiritual Summer Camp, July 29th. That's going to be exciting. You can actually spend the day with me. And I have a spiritual summer camp for adults planned so that you can really just get into a zone. Take the day off. Take yourself out of your typical routine and spend the day with me where we're going to meditate. We're going to journal. We're going to do silent walking, little crafts, all sorts of things. So I'll be your little summer camp counselor. And Greg will be the CIT, the counselor in training. So, yeah, that'll be fun. We'll make it a family affair. So that's coming up. And then Energy Transformation Awareness, that starts in September. That's my biggest class. That is my deepest, most difficult, most rewarding, exciting class that I offer. So that one starts September 13th. And you have to take, it's called ETA, Energy Transformation Awareness 1. I have 4 levels of it. So the next level 1 is going to be taught in September. And then I will not teach that again until late spring. So if you are thinking about it, you've got to look at it now for the fall so that you can take part 2, 3, and 4 before the spring starts. So that's that. So thank you, Renee, for asking the question about 0 point because you got me off on that tangent. But I love 0 point. I hope you've been using it more because I did go over that with you and Ali, and I'd love your feedback on how that's working for you. Let's see. Oh, look, a squirrel. Spider. Stop talking about the spider. I lost it. I don't know where it went. The floor is cream colored, so I can see the blackness of that humongous spider. And if it crawls across the floor, then I'll at least see that. At least that's what I'm telling myself. Yes, Tracy, the old you died when you decided to divorce your husband. It's amazing. Yes. And it's important. I do think going through a divorce is just an awful time for everybody. So it's nice to hear, if anyone here is going through um, a divorce, to hear that there is kind of life after divorce. And Greg, you said you wish you had a remote control spider. I will kill you. You know I will. Now I'm reading everybody's comments about the spider. I find it fun that you stay cool and calm, communicated with the deceased, and a spider makes you lose your shit. Oh my God, no, it's totally true. Let me tell this quick story. And if you're the person that was sitting with me during this story, please speak up, because I can't remember who you were, but I want you to speak up because you have very funny audio footage of me. So for those of you who know that when I do sessions, I'm in my office, which is very serene space. It's got great lighting and it's very comfortable. I try to make it very like etheric and just feeling really good. And I am often or always writing on a clipboard as I'm doing your reading. So I have my clipboard in my lap and I'm writing and I'm talking to this person. And as you know, readings can be quite intense. People crying all the time, and it's intense. I'm talking about stuff that's really pressing and important in people's lives, and it's a moment. I'm present with them. They're crying or upset, and I'm writing, and all of a sudden on the floor I see a centipede, which are awful creatures. I'm sorry. They're just wow. They might be good or nice and friendly and they don't bite or any of that stuff. I don't care. They just freak me out. So there was a centipede on the floor, but at the time I was sitting with someone and I didn't want to have a freak out mode because that would be inappropriate. And we were kind of like in the middle of something big in a session. So I was like, let me just be spiritual and let me just calmly remove the centipede in a very spiritual Buddhist way, practicing ahimsa, the non-violence to any animal. And so I gently put down my clipboard on the floor because my mind thought, let this little centipede just climb onto my little clipboard. And then I'm going to take him or her out and I'm going to let it live, right? That's what I'm thinking. So I gently, in the middle of my discussion, I place that clipboard down. And that sucker, as we all know how fast it went up my clipboard, up my arm, okay? So now I just go all full out crazy and I scream and throw my clipboard across the room because I'm trying to flick this thing off of me and I'm screaming, right? So I totally ruined the Zen for the person. My clipboard went through my wall and left a dent that's still there at the center. So if you ever ask where's the clipboard hole, I will show you in my office. And I record all my sessions. So that whole scenario is on someone's audio recording and I would love to hear it back, but I can't remember who you were. So if you hear this or you know that story, find me because I think it's hilarious. So yeah, there we go. That's the that's that, and that's how I respond to spiders and centipedes. Let's see. Charlotte's Web. Let's see. I'm reading all through your stuff. How's my Facebook crew going? Hello. Facebook, don't forget, you can join me on YouTube. You guys can also subscribe if you haven't already subscribed to my YouTube channel. Please do that. Okay, let's see. I'm just kind of flipping through real quick. Summer camp. Yes, you guys are excited about summer camp. Samantha asks, is it possible to have a sense of mediumship abilities and completely block it out because you don't understand it? Absolutely. You probably are blocking it out because you don't understand it or you don't understand how to make sense of it. My last class for the mediumship class was all about organizing your ability, which sounds silly. Like, what do you mean organizing it? But because of the way information comes through in mediumship, sometimes you have to create a level of organizing how information comes through. And it's a skill. And it really is helpful to help kind of interpret all of the energy and the sensations and thoughts and feelings that are going on during a reading. Organizing it into one space or one kind of setup for you, the medium, is very helpful. So there's a lot of things that can be done to really hone in on all these abilities, whether you want to connect with other people who have crossed, or you want to just connect with your own Learning more about all of this will always help. Okay, let's see. Centipedes, yuck, yes, boop, you'd be freaking out too. Thank you. I wish I wasn't like that. I don't know. I just do. It's terrible. Um, oh my gosh, your sister found a centipede in her bed. I would die. Greg, I'll kill you if you find one and you put it in our bed. I'll die. Okay, let's see. Well, we're getting about to that time of the night. So before we close up, um, oh, cool. There's 51 people logged in and 51 thumbs up. How cool is that? You guys are doing an amazing job. So if you haven't clicked the thumbs up, not putting a thumbs up in the comment, but click the thumbs up, go ahead and do that. Let's see if we can beat the number of thumbs up with the viewers. Let's see what happens then. Probably nothing, but whatever. So before we wrap up, my website has everything on it, deborahhanlon.com. Lots of classes. That's what my summer's really focused on. I've taken a huge step back from doing galleries, especially over the summer. They'll amp up a little bit more in the fall, but my focus is now becoming to work in groups, to work on intuitive life coaching clients, to work on classes, to work on online content. So my work is kind of shifting and changing around a little bit. So pay attention to all of that. Meditation, I have one, what date is that? I have one more in the morning in the summer, and I think I'm going to flip back to the nighttime meditations because I realized when I do morning meditations, I usually start them at around 8 a.m. and I'm not alive then. I realized I don't really like to be animated and talk, not until like 10 a.m., which is when I usually start my most of my sessions. So my nighttime, I'm much more up. I'm much more animated. My morning, I'm just like, let's all sit in silence because I can't function yet. So I'm going to keep flipping them back and forth. So yes, meditations, everything I do now, meditations and classes, except for energy transformation awareness. I cannot do that one online yet, not entirety. But everything I do, meditations and other classes, they are held online. So if you're far away, you could still log in just like you're doing now. Or they'll be recorded and you can log in at your own time. So again, make sure that you review your day before you go to bed tonight. Visualize your day as if there's all sorts of browsers that were up. There's the browser that got you awake this morning. There's the browser that brought you to work. The browser when I was at the mall today, the browser, whatever you did throughout the day, visualize them as all browsers and X out of each one. Minimize. No, just X out of them. Don't even minimize it. X out of every part of your day today so that you can put it down and you can put it away because this day is done. And you may have done it perfectly. You may have gotten it all done exactly as you wanted and needed to, or you may be disappointed in yourself because you didn't do X, Y, and Z. You didn't make the phone call, or you didn't put the laundry away, or you didn't do the dishes, or whatever it is. Put it away now because the day is done and it's okay because tomorrow's another day. So X out all your browsers of your mind before you go to bed. Use that visualization. And then when you wake up this in the morning, you're going to start just plan your day in your mind, whether you lay in bed for a few minutes, whether you sit with your coffee and you play your mind forward or your day forward, or sit in the shower, whatever you do, just sort of roll through your day. Get used to that. That's your homework, as well as notice compassion, exercise compassion, which really just means holding space. Sometimes compassion doesn't even need words around it. It's just holding space for people to be and feel exactly as they be and feel exactly as they be, whatever. And yes, I am 100% closing the browser on the spider. And we're putting some sort of poisonous traps down here so they can't exist anymore. Oh, creepy. So, all right, you guys, happy Monday. Thank you so much for tuning in with me. I so appreciate the fact that you are all intrigued by this. I do it because you asked for it, and I am always so humbled and honored that you actually give a shit to hear about what's coming out of my mouth because no one else seems to. So thank you guys. Good night. Safe travels back. Grace and everyone else who's traveling, I'll see you next Monday night. Have a good one. Thank you.